The vast, untamed wilderness of the American West has always held a peculiar, almost mythological grip on the global imagination, serving as a canvas for stories of survival, legacy, and the relentless pursuit of power. For decades, the traditional Western genre was viewed by Hollywood executives as a relic of a bygone era, an outdated cinematic form that had run its course and could no longer resonate with a modern, fast-paced audience captivated by digital landscapes and superhero blockbusters. Yet, against all conventional industry wisdom, a singular television phenomenon emerged to completely redefine the landscape of contemporary media, transforming a sweeping saga of a Montana ranching family into an unprecedented cultural juggernaut. This was not merely a television show. It was a weekly ritual for millions of viewers who found themselves completely mesmerized by the brutal, uncompromising world of modern cowboys, corporate warfare, and deeply fractured family dynamics. The immense success of this neo-Western empire caught the entire entertainment industry off guard, proving that audiences worldwide were starving for grounded, character-driven narratives that explored the complex, often violent intersection of tradition and progress. As the series expanded from a sleeper hit into a multi-billion-dollar franchise, it reshaped the very financial structures of major networks and streaming platforms alike, demonstrating that a compelling story told with raw authenticity could command the absolute attention of the modern world. However, as any historian of the entertainment industry knows, the greatest and most compelling dramas often unfold not in front of the cameras but within the quiet, tension-filled rooms where creative titans clash over the destiny of their collective creation, leaving millions of dedicated fans to wonder about the hidden forces driving the narrative behind the scenes. To truly understand the magnitude of this television phenomenon, one must look back at the cinematic landscape from which it grew. A time when a bold television creator and an iconic Academy Award-winning actor joined forces to breathe new life into a forgotten genre. Their collaboration was hailed as a perfect artistic marriage, combining a raw, unfiltered writing style with the commanding screen presence of a legendary Hollywood star who epitomized the classic American archetype. Together, they built an empire centered around a fiercely loyal patriarch fighting to protect his ancestral land from developers, indigenous reservations, and internal family betrayals. Before we dive deeper into the fascinating evolution of this creative partnership and the unexpected storms that would later threaten to tear it apart, we invite you to become a permanent part of our community by subscribing to our channel, ensuring you never miss an episode of our deep dives into the ultimate secrets of the entertainment world. The success of their joint venture was instantaneous, transforming a fledgling cable network into a dominant broadcasting powerhouse and spawning an entire cinematic universe of prequels and sequels that explored the generational history of this fictional dynasty. The series became a masterclass in building tension, utilizing breathtaking cinematography of the rugged Montana mountains contrasted against the dark schemes of characters who would stop at nothing to preserve their way of life, securing its place as the definitive television epic of its generation. As the years progressed, the show grew into a massive financial behemoth, exerting an almost unimaginable leverage over the entire media landscape, where cable operators and executives began viewing the property as an essential life support system for traditional broadcasting. Contracts were redrawn, distribution rights became the subject of fierce bidding wars, and the pressure to maintain the momentum of this golden goose reached an absolute fever pitch within corporate boardrooms. Yet, the very elements that made the series a triumph, its uncompromising creative vision, its fiercely independent storytelling, and the massive star power at its core, were also creating a delicate ecosystem where any shift in alignment could cause catastrophic ripples. Rumors began to circulate within the industry about growing creative differences, scheduling conflicts, and divergent visions for how this grand story should ultimately conclude, creating a quiet anxiety among a global fan base that had grown profoundly invested in the fate of these characters. The delicate balance between a meticulous writer who demands complete control over his narrative universe and a legendary actor with his own artistic ambitions and passion projects is a familiar tale in Hollywood. Yet rarely has it played out on such a massive and public stage. The speculation grew to a deafening roar as production schedules shifted, whispered reports of behind-the-scenes friction leaked to the press, and the future of television's most powerful family suddenly seemed to hang precariously in the balance. For a long time, both sides maintained a careful, calculated silence, leaving the public and the media to piece together fragments of truth from anonymous sources, public statements from representatives, and the cryptic developments within the show's script itself. The anticipation surrounding the final chapters of this monumental saga reached unprecedented heights, as viewers sought to separate Hollywood gossip from the actual reality of what was transpiring between two of the industry's most influential figures. It became clear that this was not just a simple disagreement over contract terms, but a profound turning point in modern television history, highlighting the intense pressure cooker environment that exists when an artistic endeavor transforms into a multi-billion-dollar corporate asset. Now, after years of intense speculation, public debates, and media narratives that often distorted the truth, one of the primary architects of this universe has finally broken his silence to provide an unfiltered, deeply personal perspective on what actually occurred behind the closed doors of production. His recent candid reflections offer a rare glimpse into the complex machinery of high-stakes television creation, revealing the hidden contracts, the corporate panic, and the mutual respect that survived despite the immense pressure, setting the stage for a dramatic revelation that redefines everything we thought we knew about the departure of the show's legendary leading man. The curtain has finally been pulled back on the internal machinery of this monumental production, as the creator himself stepped forward during a widely discussed podcast appearance to address the long-standing rumors surrounding his relationship with the show's iconic star. For the first time, audiences were given a glimpse into the literal framework that bound these two creative forces together, exposing a reality that was vastly different from the sensationalized headlines that had dominated the entertainment news cycle for years. According to the producer, the grand plan for the narrative was originally designed to look entirely different from the sprawling, multi-season epic that it eventually became, rooted in a highly specific contract that was meant to limit the veteran actor's involvement to just the initial 3 seasons of the series. This revelation shattered the widespread public perception that the actor's sudden exit was a spontaneous act of defiance or a sudden abandonment of the project, revealing instead that the leading man had mentally and legally prepared to walk away from the ranch long before the show became a global cultural obsession. The original blueprint of the narrative was crafted with a clear generational transition in mind, a definitive storytelling arc where the aging patriarch would pass the torch, allowing his youngest son to step into the grueling role of defending the family's massive land holdings against a shifting, hostile modern world. This structured plan represented a calculated artistic vision, ensuring that the story would remain lean, focused, and purposeful without succumbing to the natural fatigue that often plagues long-running television dramas. However, the explosive, unprecedented success of the first few seasons rapidly altered the trajectory of the entire enterprise, creating an absolute state of panic within the corporate offices of the television network. Executives suddenly found themselves holding the keys to the most lucrative media property in contemporary television, a massive cash cow that was single-handedly reviving traditional cable viewership and driving unprecedented subscription numbers across various platforms. The mere thought of letting go of their central marquee star after only 3 seasons, even though the actor himself was completely prepared and contractually entitled to depart, was an existential threat that the network was entirely unwilling to face. The immense financial leverage of a top-tier Hollywood star could not be overstated, as major cable providers and distribution networks began demanding explicit guarantees for an extended number of future seasons before they would even consider renewing their highly lucrative, multi-million-dollar carriage agreements with the parent company. Faced with this overwhelming corporate pressure and the sheer momentum of a show that had transformed into an unstoppable cultural behemoth, the iconic actor agreed to extend his stay, ultimately committing to an additional 2 seasons of grueling production schedules to help solidify the network's financial future. This compromise kept the core of the show intact, but it also sowed the seeds for an inevitable clash of priorities, as the actor's personal artistic ambitions and deep desire to direct his own multi-part cinematic masterpiece began to collide with the endless demands of a television schedule that showed absolutely no signs of slowing down. As the series progressed through these extended seasons, the atmosphere behind the scenes grew increasingly complex, characterized by an delicate balance between a meticulous writer who required absolute creative autonomy over his script and a legendary leading man who possessed his own distinct cinematic philosophy. Despite the rising tension reported by the media, the creator emphasized that on a personal level, Their professional relationship had always been grounded in direct communication, noting that they had never encountered a single creative dispute that they could not personally resolve through a simple phone call. The true breakdown in communication occurred not because of personal animosity between the two main creators, but because of the inevitable intervention of legal teams, managers, and corporate representatives who stepped into the arena to protect their respective clients' interests. Once the attorneys became involved, the direct, human line of communication was effectively severed, creating an informational vacuum that was quickly filled by public relations maneuvering, media leaks, and aggressive finger-pointing designed to shift public blame based on how the internet and the fan base were reacting to the brewing conflict. The creator lamented this phase of the dispute, pointing out that the leading man took an immense amount of public criticism on the chin during this period, enduring waves of negative press and accusations of being difficult or demanding. Treatment that the producer candidly admitted the legendary actor simply did not deserve. While the public was consumed by the unfolding media circus and the rumors of a bitter, irreconcilable feud, the actor was quietly pouring his heart, soul, and considerable personal fortune into his true passion project, a sprawling, deeply ambitious multi-part historical Western feature film that he had been desperate to write and direct for decades. This cinematic endeavor had become the ultimate priority for the aging star, representing his definitive artistic statement and a return to the grand, big-screen storytelling that had originally defined his legendary Hollywood career in the late 20th century. The scheduling demands for this massive film franchise were entirely incompatible with the rigid, constantly shifting production timelines of a premier television drama, leading to intense arguments between the actor and the network regarding his official exit date from the show. In an effort to accommodate the star's lifelong dream, the creator actively worked with the production team to craft a highly customized filming schedule that would allow the actor to wrap up his performance on the ranch and transition smoothly into his directorial duties on the movie set. Yet, despite these logistical efforts to bridge the gap, the structural timeline of the television show was permanently fractured, leaving the writer with the monumental and incredibly difficult task of rewriting the climax of his grand television epic without the physical presence of its central, defining character. This sudden truncation of the patriarch's storyline sent shockwaves through the entire writing process, forcing the creator to radically alter the pacing and the explicit closure he had originally envisioned for the character of John Dutton. The producer explained that while the ultimate destiny and the core resolution of the family patriarch's journey remained structurally unaltered in his mind, the actual execution of that ending had to be significantly shortened and accelerated due to the actor's permanent departure from the set. When the final episodes of the core series eventually aired, fans worldwide were left stunned and deeply divided by the abrupt, violent exit of the family patriarch, a narrative decision that directly reflected the real-world logistical crisis that had unfolded behind closed doors. The legendary character was abruptly written out of the main timeline, a move that capped off years of intense speculation but left an undeniable void at the center of the universe that had built its entire identity around his commanding presence. The creator's recent podcast statements have finally shed light on the immense corporate stress, the legal barriers, and the deeply human artistic ambitions that drove this historic television exit, setting up a profound exploration of how this legendary franchise managed to survive the loss of its brightest star and adapt to a brand new era of storytelling. The abrupt and dramatic departure of the iconic leading man marked a definitive turning point for the entire cinematic universe, forced to reckon with the stark reality of moving forward without the central pillar upon which its entire mythology had been built. For 6 years, the veteran actor had infused the character of the family patriarch with a rare, weathering dignity, creating a cultural icon that symbolized the rugged, uncompromising spirit of an older America fading in the face of modern progress. When his character was finally and unceremoniously written out of the main timeline, it was not just a shock to the narrative fabric of the show, but a profound cultural moment that forced the audience to look closer at the themes of legacy, mortality, and the inevitable passage of time that the series had always explored. The creator's decision to truncate the patriarch's journey rather than completely reinvent it preserved the thematic integrity of the overarching story, demonstrating that while individual titans may fall, the land, the legacy, and the generational struggle itself remain completely unchanged. This narrative choice resonated deeply with the core audience, proving that the foundation of this fictional empire was sturdy enough to withstand the loss of its most recognizable star, while simultaneously opening up a brand new landscape for the remaining characters to step out of the patriarch's massive shadow, with the central leader gone. The dramatic weight of the saga shifted entirely onto the shoulders of the younger generation, a deeply complex and fractured group of siblings whose rivalries, traumas, and ambitions had been brewing since the very first episode. The brilliant but deeply damaged daughter, played with an unmatched, ferocious intensity by her talented performer, suddenly found herself at the absolute center of the family's defense mechanism. Her chaotic energy and sharp corporate intellect weaponized to protect the ancestral territory. Alongside her, the fiercely loyal ranch foreman, a character who embodied the raw, violent discipline of the old cowboy way, became the ultimate anchor for the ranch's survival. His deep bond with the family patriarch translating into a relentless determination to keep the legacy alive at any cost. Meanwhile, the conflicted younger brother, a torn soul caught between his duties to his family and his desire for a peaceful, independent life away from the bloodshed, was forced to make definitive choices about his own ultimate path. Highlighting the tragic nature of a heritage that demands total, unquestioning sacrifice. Even the outcast brother, whose legal schemes and desperate thirst for validation had consistently threatened to destroy the family from within, found his trajectory permanently altered by the sudden absence of the father, whose approval he had spent a lifetime chasing, as the original series drew to its monumental conclusion. The entertainment world watched closely to see how the franchise would pivot, a transition that ultimately proved to be as ambitious as the original show itself. Rather than letting the story fade away, the creator and the network capitalized on the world's insatiable appetite for this universe by expanding outward, giving birth to a highly anticipated spin-off titled Dutton Ranch. This new iteration of the saga, which made its highly successful premiere, served as both a continuation of the family's modern struggles and a deep exploration of the generational echo chamber that defined their history. Even though the original leading man was no longer physically present on the screen, his ghost continued to hover over every single frame of the new production, his name and his legendary deeds earning frequent, reverent mentions from the characters who were left behind to pick up the broken pieces. This creative decision kept his symbolic power completely intact, ensuring that his immense contribution to the franchise would never be forgotten, while allowing the new series to explore fresh narrative avenues and introduce a whole new cast of characters tasked with navigating the harsh realities of life on the continent's most coveted piece of land, simultaneously. The departing star's gamble on his own artistic future began to unfold on the global stage as he finally released the first chapters of his long-awaited historical Western epic Horizon: An American Saga. This massive cinematic endeavor, which the actor had championed for decades, represented a massive high-stakes risk, requiring him to invest significant portions of his own personal wealth and step back into the dual role of director and leading man on a grand scale. The film series, designed as a sweeping multi-part examination of the settlement of the American West during the pre- and post-Civil War eras, stood as a testament to the actor's undying devotion to the Western genre, a creative obsession that ultimately outweighed the security and financial rewards of television's biggest show. The parallel trajectories of the creator continuing his television empire and the actor forging ahead with his cinematic masterpiece illustrated a fascinating truth about the entertainment industry: that true creative visionaries cannot be easily contained by corporate schedules or the comfortable routine of an established hit, often requiring complete freedom to pursue their ultimate artistic destinies. The resolution of this behind-the-scenes drama has provided a masterclass in the realities of modern media production, showing how high-stakes financial pressures, complex legal networks, and intense personal ambitions can converge to reshape the pop culture landscape. The creator's candid reflections on the podcast stripped away the layer of malicious gossip that had polluted the media narrative for years, replacing it with a nuanced portrait of two highly dedicated professionals who simply reached a crossroads in their respective careers. There was no grand betrayal, no bitter hatred, but rather an inevitable parting of ways between a writer fiercely protective of his narrative independence and a legendary Hollywood star determined to fulfill a lifelong creative dream before his time ran out. The public took a great deal of comfort in learning that their final conversations were marked by mutual respect and a shared desire to find a workable solution. an essential truth that had been completely obscured by the aggressive public relations battles waged by their representatives ultimately. The enduring legacy of this collaboration lies in the incredible body of work they produced together during those initial seasons. A collection of television episodes that completely revitalized an entire genre and set a brand new standard for cinematic storytelling on the small screen. The character of John Dutton will forever stand as one of the definitive archetypes of modern television, a complex, flawed, yet undeniably powerful figure who captured the imagination of a global audience and proved that the classic themes of the American West are truly timeless. As both the creator and the actor move forward into their respective futures, expanding his massive television empire through fresh chapters like Dutton Ranch, and the other carving out his cinematic legacy on the silver screen, the story of their historic partnership remains a compelling reminder of the incredible magic and the inevitable friction that occurs when two true giants of the industry unite to create something genuinely unforgettable.